Sergeant Faninkosi and Action SA Councillor Khulufelo Morodi were together celebrating her birthday. On the same day, Morodi sent Nkosi a message thanking him for making her birthday special. The message is then followed by an internal Tshwane municipality document which outlines the municipality's recommended specifications for a number of land lease tenders. Nkosi says he had no interest in the tenders.
We had a discussion about the land that were to be leased to the public. She then sent this to me that these are the kind of buildings that the city leased. So this one automatically, I think it was already been cancelled. It was on a public platform.
At the same time, Action SA has released a statement saying it will be initiating an investigation against all its members implicated at the commission. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
The case against the man accused of killing two Mamelodi cousins has been postponed. In October last year, Tebogo Mnisi was arrested for the murder of 22-year-old Tiamo and 21-year-old Baliseng Moramaga and the attempted murder of a man who was with the woman at the time of the attack. Mnisi has been in custody since his arrest after he abandoned bail. He made a brief appearance in the Mamelodi Magistrate Court today, where it was revealed that the J88 form and one post-mortem report are outstanding. NPA spokesperson Lumka Mahanjana says the case is back in court on the 20th of May.
Tebogo Mnisi facing charges of 2 counts of premeditated murder of 2 female cousins from Mamelodi, attempted murder, possession of unlicensed firearm, and possession of unlawful ammunition, has been postponed to the 20th of May for further investigations.
Police are inspecting security boss Calvin Matibedi's company premises in Durban, North KwaZulu-Natal. This after the Durban High Court dismissed Matibedi's urgent application to prevent the search. Officers on the ground say they're checking the business firearms compliance as part of a nationwide operation looking into security companies. This inspection comes amid an ongoing defamation court battle between the security boss and KZN police head Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis says he's committed to releasing well-located public land to support working families in the inner city. Hill-Lewis joined Western Cape Premier Alan Winde and MEC for Infrastructure Tertius Simmers to unveil a mixed-use development in the city centre yesterday. The new building is located between Somerset, Chapeni and Westwich streets. The Westwich Precinct project will transform the parcel of public land into 2 7- and 12-storey buildings with 120 units set aside for affordable housing. The remaining 180 units will be allocated to the open market.
We are putting in some of the land required to make this development possible, to make sure that it is big enough and of a sufficient scale so that you can get the cross-subsidization required to make some of the housing more affordable.
Hill-Lewis says the development will make it easier for people who work in the CBD to get to their places of employment.
This is now the 5th project that we are partnering with in the inner city, and that's in addition to many of our own projects at Salt River and at Fruit and Veg in Ruland Street and elsewhere to get much more affordable accommodation in the inner city and surrounds.
And a public hearing in China has heard that safety measures failed on the day of a devastating blaze which tore through a housing complex in Hong Kong. Last year, a high-rise apartment complex caught alight, killing 168 people. A safety panel conducting the hearing says the scar is hard to forget on the city's collective memory. The committee collected more than 1 million documents, including testimony from residents, building workers and firefighters. The blaze is considered the world's deadliest residential building fire since 1980. In your financials, gold is trading at $4,715.81 an ounce. The rand is 16.89 to the dollar, 22.43 to the pound, and 19.38 to the euro. Brent crude oil is $117.91 a barrel.
Leaving the Joburg CBD, heading towards the Rivoli area, slow-moving traffic in Selby on the M2 westbound between the Crown Exchange and Main Reef Road. And look out for those faulty traffic lights in Sharon Lee at Malibongwe Drive and the M1.
Gauteng's partly cloudy with showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures peaked at highs of between 25 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Action SA's Tshwane councillor Khulufelo Morodi could be in trouble after the evidence at the Madlanga Commission showed her sharing internal tender documents with Gauteng cop Sergeant Faninkosi.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Thursday, the 19th of March. Looking forward to getting into conversations with you. The conversation we're going to kick off with is because I am so upset about something I saw. In essence, and I'll tell you about it, I saw 4 children on the corner of Winnie Mandela Drive and Santon Drive as I was driving into work. It was around 12 o'clock. Children that looked like they were 9, 10 years old dancing on the streets with crates and going to collect money. And I thought to myself, are these kids not supposed to be in school? And if they are supposed to be in school, like as a community, what can we do about kids that are not in school? And then I need to know, like the kids that aren't in school, why aren't they in school? Because maybe in your area, you know of children that should be school going age. What are the reasons, of which some could be very, very legitimate, that a child is not in school? And then social workers, police officers, community leaders, what is your input on the conversation to say if you see that there are children working, what should be done about it? Where can the public report and do something about it? Coming up on the show as well, Belief Matters feature. We're going to talk about the significance of iftar, and we'll be joined by the director at Nizamiye Mosque, Dr. Aydin Inal. And then in the second hour of the show, it is that conversation we're having around RSV and how it affects children and what parents can do to protect their families this season. Don't worry, we'll be joined by Dr. Shakira Abrahams, scientist and vaccines medical manager at Sanofi, to talk about RSV, what it stands for and what it's all about. And then we wrap up, and if you're like, where's Wendy Nola? She is off this week. We did let you know she'd be off for 2 weeks. So we're not having Wendy Nolan, our consumer rights feature. But after that, we'll be having a conversation around South Africa's growing demand for organic and natural products. There's an expo happening. So Warren Hickenbotham will join us, co-founder of the Organic and Natural Products Expo in Africa, as well as Gary Jackson, founder of Jackson's. So get in touch with us. 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So, I'm coming into work, as I have shared, and I cannot for the life of me understand why they are what looks to me like primary school going age children on the streets dancing with crates and asking for money. I am not clear as to what a person can do. Maybe share with us what you do in your community if you see a child doing or not being where they're supposed to be. Maybe you are only alarmed if you're seeing a child doing something in uniform, or a child drinking, and then you do something. But as a community, I'm sorry, for me, I'm like, what are we supposed to do? I felt like I should be doing something, but I wasn't sure what I am supposed to do. Who am I supposed to call? Am I supposed to call the police and say, hey, there are children at this intersection begging for money and are not in school? Now, we also have situations where you have people begging for money with their children beside them. And maybe, and I know that conversation has happened, but maybe what's different about this one for me specifically is the fact that they look like they should be in school. These are school-going hours. Why? Like, who has sent them to come and ponder for money at an intersection? Then I had to ask myself, if we are to consider legitimate reasons that a child would not be in school at that age, what could those reasons be? And I'm not talking just for a day. Maybe they are child-headed households. And maybe social workers have not intervened or have not been contacted, and you have a child who has been left in a situation where they're responsible beyond their age. Maybe family members, I shared the story of a young woman who, after matriculating, the family said, you're not doing tertiary education because who's going to pay for these bills? And maybe these kids could be under the same circumstances where somebody is saying to them, this school thing is a waste of time if our fridge at home is empty. But social workers that are listening, please give us a call. Community members, community leaders, what are we supposed to do about the children that are not in school, that should be in school? Especially, we just came out of a 2-hour mathematics masterclass yesterday, honing in on one subject. Our problems in this country are so many. Beyond having a maths crisis, and I encourage you all to go to primemediaplus.com or download the app for you to catch up on that conversation. But beyond us having a maths crisis, we have a crisis of children not being in school. And maybe because many of us are living in the burbs now, we don't see it as prevalently as that. So I'm seeing on Facebook, Pam Soares says those kiddos dancing at the robots are not doing any harm. They're just trying to make a bit of money. What? They look 9 or 10. They may not be doing any harm to us as adults, but what is the harm being done to them? Why is an 8-year-old or 9-year-old, and I'm going to reiterate, I'm not clear of their ages. I was so shocked I was not even in a place to stop. The robots had opened and the kids started weaving between me, and I immediately called my producer to say, listen, I know we have this plan for today, but I need us to talk about this because I don't even know who to phone. Must I phone police? And if I phone the police, where are the police going to take them? Your audible 188307002, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Let's go to the lines. Anna in Linksfield. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Relebogile. How are you?
I'm annoyed, and I'm sure you can hear, ne?
I am. So is me as well, Relebogile.
Eish, talk to me.
Yeah. You know what? I don't verify kids to be in the street either, but some of the schools, like where my child attending the school, as from Monday, we get a message that as from Monday, all kids must.
Anna, can I just ask you to turn your radio off because of the feedback happening?
Okay, sorry for that.
Yes.
As from Monday, all the kids have to leave the school by 12:30, right? So as a working parent, I don't have a choice. I have to leave my child at home because 12:30, I don't have the transport to collect the child. In the school itself, the kids are bullying each other. There's no teacher attending to the children because they're preparing for the awards. I'm talking to the experiencing according to the school of my child, right? So if I have to send my child at school, is coming complaining, we are no longer learning, they're being bullied, the teacher is preparing for the awards. So the schools itself, they're participating in this in a sense that they dismiss the school early, and 2 weeks before the closing date of the schools, they're no longer learning. Kids are just playing. So parents, they keep their children at home. While you are at work, you think that your child is at school, yet they're in the street. So that's what I need to, yes,
Can I
definitely it's
ask-
frustrating.
Can I ask a question just around what you're saying? Does the school say, okay, we're closing early because this is happening, but if as a parent you can't fetch the child, is there somewhere they can be?
At home. I keep my child, is 10 years, so I have to, he have to be alone at home.
No, but what I mean is if a parent can't fetch the child early
Yes.
and the school
Yes.
closes at 12:30, let's say the parent is used to fetching the child at 4.
Yes,
What is the school offering in place of the school closing early?
They don't offer any aftercare. It's from 12:30. All parents must make means to make sure that your kids are collected at school. So it makes it very difficult as a parent to send a child just for a half day. They're not learning. They're bullying each other. So it's really a problem that needs to be addressed to schools, especially these private schools. I don't say all of them, but I have a problem where my child is attending, and it really touches me. Last time my child came with this head swollen because they were bumping each other, they were bullying each other. The teachers are busy with the awards. What is that? It's really frustrating as a parent.
So as a parent, have you been able to go as a group to like the student body or the governing body of the school to address this issue?
I actually go to the principal. I had a meeting and I get engaged with the seniors at the school. But you know what? Nothing much happens. And at the end, I end up telling myself that once they tell myself, I'm not a parent who support the child not to go to school. But once they finish writing the examination, they don't give the children attention. No parent, no teachers actually have to sit with the children to make sure that, okay, fine, other ones are preparing for the awards or whatsoever. But the children, they do whatever they want, and they're bullying each other. At the end, you keep your child at home being safe. Later on, the other ones are out, they're in the street, the parent is at work. You know?
I hear you completely.
It's a problem.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I just saw a WhatsApp coming in that says, I'm sorry, but this caller thinks that the school is her babysitter because she works. Guys, there's something in the brain called medulla oblongata. Please go read what it is. Because sometimes when you share your thoughts, the dots are not connecting. If a caller is saying that the schools close early, as in earlier than normal, and because that happens, this then happens, and you say the school is not her babysitter. Your medulla is not oblongatoring. The dots are not connecting. And to the people saying, if these kids are doing no harm and they're just trying to make money, you are a part of the problem. What do you even mean? Maybe you were neglected as a child. And in your world, that is normalized behavior. That as long as you're not harming anybody, it's okay. Can we, today I might need I need a woosa. Let me look at more of your messages on Facebook. Cedric says, if you know them, take them to school or phone their parents. When I was in high school, we bunked, was sitting at the shops. A policeman drove past, and indeed, it's an uncle I know and he knows me well. He made us line up and walk in front of the police van to school. Till today, I have high regard for him. He serves as a brigadier today. At the Carling Cup quarterfinals a month or so ago at Orlando Stadium, when I took my son to the game, I saw him and introduced my son to him and gave him permission. If he sees my son misbehaving, he knows what to do. So yeah, if you don't know the kids, talk to them as a parent and reason with them to get back into school. It's because villages no longer raise kids. Those are our kids. That our kids have also lost their minds. That is from Cedric. I am so concerned. Let's go to the lines. Sister from Bramley. Hi.
Hi, Relebogile. Relebogile, I heard you saying earlier you didn't know what to do, whether you should call the police or what. Look, firstly, even the police won't even know where the social services officers are or what to do. So I think this is a systematic failure for our kids because, like the caller said, if school ends at 12:30 and my transport is only available from 2:30, what's going to happen to my child in between? So I might as well leave my child at home. And for parents that think that parent is using the school as a babysitter, they're really not thinking far beyond what it means to be a child, because a child needs to be at school and then there needs to be activities at school. Some schools, I'm going to mention one school, which is JP Boys. I mean, after school at 2 o'clock, kids are on the field playing football, playing rugby, playing cricket, and there are educators that are monitoring them. Why isn't our government doing the same for all of these schools, government schools, to make sure that there's sporting facilities for school kids, and kids are at school every single day, not because the exams are done, kids must be at home. Be at home and do what? Kids get up to mischief, and kids' safety is compromised when you're going to say, because we are not doing anything at school, you must be at home. Be at home with who? When the parent is out at work, So I think as communities as well, we need to think before we speak. We need to know what we are saying, because these are our kids. Unfortunately, kids are not raised by a community like when we grew up, because I was raised by anyone that cared to be a parent to me, and they disciplined me when they can. I never went home and told my parents. Unfortunately, it's different now, because you can't even say to a child what you are doing is wrong, because the child will look at you with the eye that says, who the hell are you? You're not my parent. So that's the biggest challenge that we have as communities, not knowing how to even assist somebody's child when we see that they going off the rail, because you also worry about what the parent will say, So that's my take on this, really.
Thank you so much. And I think you are alluding to something correct, that the system has failed. And I mean, keep in mind, if I, as a Relebogile, who is a broadcaster at 702, meaning I have access to so many people, what is that in English? I was also dumbfounded. Is that the right word? Dumbfounded about who to call. Now, keep in mind, because if you're thinking, but why didn't you stop and talk to them? I was in the middle lane of 4 lanes on Santon Drive. I only saw them when I was driving past them. So I immediately called my producer to say, let's have this conversation. It was not a situation I could turn around. And then I thought to myself, so I'm phoning, who am I phoning, number one? Number two, if I phone the police, like, let me breathe. Bunolo from Midrand, hi.
How are you, Relebogile?
Good, thanks, and you?
All right, thanks. I think a few callers along with yourself have touched on the issue, which is that our communities have changed. Our communities have morphed, probably with the times, but not all the changes that we have gone through have benefited and served us as a community. The issue of schools coming out early, it's not a new issue. It has always been there. When I was in school, however many years ago, we used to come out early. So once the syllabus is done...
Sorry, can I just understand what you mean? Do you mean as in as in a school would have periods where they would say, today we're closing at 12?
So when I was in primary school, yes, that's what I mean. So when I was in primary, what would happen is that once the syllabus and the tests and the exams are done, the schools will come out early, or the teachers will be busy catching up on admin, marking and making sure that the reports go out on time. And then they would inform us that from next week, Monday, we come out at 11:30. Either we would then be given tasks at school to go and attend to the vegetable garden, or do some gardening to clean up the school. Or if that is done, then we would go home. But we went home to a much safer, slightly more safer society than now. So we would go home. I would make myself a sandwich at home, even at 11, 12, and then go out and play on the streets with my friends.
Okay.
But I was in a community that was much safer than what I think we are experiencing now. And on top of that, if I misbehaved, my neighbor was well within their rights to say, listen, Bunolo, you are naughty, don't do that, or they would even give me a hiding. And when that was reported to my parents, it would be an extra hiding, which means, I am disgracing the family, But now we are much more individualistic as communities. We have moved out from the communal, it takes a village ethos, and now we are much more individualistic. So if now I see a kid, let's say I'm in a queue, and we are sitting in the waiting area, and I see a kid jumping on the chair, and I say to that baby, I say to a baby, please don't do that, you'll hurt yourself. You are more likely to be asked why you were umangwena. Whose child is this?
Yes. Actually,
we don't have that anymore.
somebody on the WhatsApp line said, in a situation like this, you actually just mind your business because of rights and how times have changed. So I think what you're saying is reflecting how things have changed. Thank you so much for your call, Bonolo. Let's go to Nolo from Randburg. What a coincidence. Nolo, go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Relebogile. My name is actually Bonolo, and it's
As
short
well.
Bonolo. Yes.
Okay, 2 Bonolos in one day. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, you are lucky. So I wanted to say, echo what the lady was saying with regards to the schools, right? I think that they are playing a huge role in this because instead of keeping the kids, the teachers get school holidays already. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to say that they don't work hard, but
yes,
they are still responsible until the end of the school term to keep the kids engaged. You know, there are lots of things that the kids could be doing, but they don't do that. And unfortunately, this even, I think the lady was talking about private schooling. This happens in the public schooling thing as well. I mean, parents are stressed out. They have to go to school, and they have made arrangements for school holidays. But when it's during the term, what should the parents do? Then these sorts of things then happen. You know, it's really not right.
Sure. And I think you are touching on something there. I mean, in my mind, I'm like, how far in advance is it communicated? Let's say the school does need to close early for whatever reason. Like, are they given a 1 month notice to be able to make a plan? And hence I asked the question, if a parent cannot collect their child from school when it closes early, then what should happen to those children? What should happen? Is there something where they say, okay, we're preparing for a concert, everybody in the hall, like,
But, you know, even if, let's say, they give a month's notice, right? Not everyone is flexible at work. This is during working hours.
Yeah.
I think that they really need to be considerate of parents. They are working to pay the fees. You know what I mean? So they already get the break during the afternoons, and I know that it's not that work ends when the kids go home, but
yes,
they really need to put in place alternatives for the kids to do. When I was at school, we didn't have that. When we are done writing exam, we still came to school. There are so many other things to learn that aren't centered around writing an exam at the end of it, and it's just so wrong.
Yes, yes. No, thank you so much, Os Bonolo from Randburg, for sharing your views there. George, I see you. I see all of you waiting on the lines. I see your voice notes as well, and all of your messages and comments on Facebook that we will be coming to. There's a message that says, Relebogile, this issue is so upsetting. When I see those ladies using kids to beg for money, I cannot bring myself to give them money because it's as if you are enabling them. Just the other day, I saw a lady sitting down by the robot with a baby and a little child about 5 or 6 years old, walking by the cars and asking for money. So sad. Now, while we continue the conversation, we are still going to be giving something away courtesy of Club Med. So coming up, it's going to be a chance to win an all-inclusive beach getaway for 2 worth 70,000 Rand with Club Med South Africa on 702. So all you have to do, because the rules change every day, this is a new one, okay? Don't do the old thing. This is what you have to do for today for your chance to be included in the grand finale. Send us a WhatsApp voice note naming 3 items that you would pack for your Club Med Beach Safari holidays. So, a voice note on 072-702-1702. Make sure you include your name and ID number. And you're going to tell us 3 items you'd pack for your Club Med holiday and why they're perfect for the experience. So if you're going to say, I'm going to pack Abel, because at any given moment, if I feel like doing a radio broadcast, he is there. You're going to tell us the 3 things you'd pack and why you would pack them for the perfect experience. And don't forget your name and ID number, 072-702-1702, and we could be calling you. Of course, TCs and more on primemediaplus.com. It's just after 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. I'm Zingisa Chirwa. Action SA says it will probe allegations against Tshwane Councillor Khulufelo Morodi after evidence at the Madlanga Commission showed her sharing internal tender documents with Gauteng Cop Sergeant Faningosi. Morodi, who is also the MMC for Corporate and Shared Services, WhatsApped Ngosi a document showing bid specifications for land lease tenders. The case against the man accused of killing two Mamelodi cousins has been postponed. In October last year, Tebogo Mnisi was arrested for the murder of 22-year-old Tiamo and 21-year-old Balaseng Moramaga, as well as the attempted murder of a man who was with the pair at the time of the attack. And Iranian Football Federation President Mehdi Taj says his country will boycott the United States, but not the World Cup. In a video released by Iranian press agency Fars, Taj says Iran will prepare for the World Cup. Iran's Football Federation has opened talks with FIFA about potentially relocating its matches from the United States. Through the global governing body has so far maintained that the tournament schedule remains unchanged. Those are the headlines this EWN, and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving the Joburg CBD, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. Otherwise, the rest of 702 land looking really good. No major delays or accidents have been reported on our highways. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights in Devlin at the Golden Highway and Main Road. And traffic lights also not working in Sharon Lee at Malibongo Drive and the N1. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Two tiny little lives, born, joined at the abdomen, sharing vital organs. A medical team in a public hospital in Mangweng, Limpopo, led by one doctor, Nyawelenu Shifalaro. Doctor, take me through the complexity of the procedure.
They were joined at the abdomen, so they've got one liver, so that one liver we had to divide it. Also, there was the containing part of the heart, the cardiac chamber, a bit of the intestine.
What was your indication that this was a job well done?
If you divide them and they are alive and everyone now is living their own life, that's a success.
This happened at a public hospital. Isn't that a good news story, Shadi?
You put us on the map.
This country still has potential, my friends.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Are you a legal practitioner looking to do your mediation course? Come and train in mediation with the Law Society of South Africa, the preferred leader in legal education with over 35 years of experience. We also offer advanced training, specialized skills development, and continuous legal education to ensure legal practitioners excel with competence and integrity. Stay ahead in your profession. Explore more courses at lssa.org.za. The Law Society of South Africa, leaders in legal education.
Safety begins in our homes, our streets, and our communities. Government is working to ensure that every person in South Africa feels safe. Based on the President's commitment during the State of the Nation address, the South African National Defence Force is being deployed to support the South African Police Service in crime prevention operations across selected areas in Gauteng, Western Cape, Free State, Eastern Cape, and the Northwest. Their role is to support the South African Police Service to protect communities and strengthen safety where it matters most. Fighting crime needs all of us. If you see criminal activity, speak up. Report it to your nearest police station or call Crime Stop on 0800 10 111. Working together for a safer South Africa. A message from the Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports, no more disconnected systems, no more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. ISTRATGO.com.
Parenthood doesn't come with a manual. That's why 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, brings you Parenting and Parents, a feature dedicated to the real conversations that matter most to families. From expert advice to practical tips, it's a space to unpack the challenges, celebrate the small wins, and help you feel a little more confident. Catch Parenting and Parents every Monday from 2 p.m. on 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. Parenting and Parents on 702 is brought to you by Sanofi, together against RSV.
702 afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
Lines are always open.
On 011
883
0702.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock, and we're talking about children that are school-going age and are just not in school. After I witnessed 4 kids that look like they should, around 9-10 years old, and should be in primary school. They were dancing around on Santon Drive, close to the Winnie Mandela intersection, with crates and collecting money. And I did not know who to call and what to do. So this is the conversation we are having. Now, quickly want to share some stats with all of you. Do get in touch. 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. So recent stats show that while primary school attendance is high, a substantial number of children and youth remain outside the formal education system. So if we look at how many are out of school youth, Census 2022, which is, and thank you to my producer, info we could get at such short notice, revealed that approximately 5.4 million people aged 5 to 24 were not attending an educational institution. So, of course, that includes youth as a whole. Then compulsory school age. Among children aged 7 to 17, roughly 300,000 were reported as not attending school. And then grade completion in 2024, 22% of children aged 16 and 17 had not yet completed grade 9. Not in employment, not educated, or in education or not training as of 2024, 36% of young people aged 15 to 24, which is more than 1/3, were categorized as NEET, as in not in employment, education, or training. So let us go to the lines and get all of your thoughts. George and Santon, go ahead, George.
Relebogile, this is exactly the point, the stats. So a few friends were talking the other day, and the scary thing came up to say that with all these children, and we are actually producing even more of this, it's not like we're stopping it. Somebody must be held accountable. When those children come and they come and knocking on your doors in the burbs and say, Relebogile, I'm hungry. That's my message.
Oh.
If we don't do something about it.
Thank you so much. And it's a sad state of affairs that this is where we are. It is absolutely painful. Clement from Pretoria, hi.
Good afternoon, Relebogile.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Look, it's a societal issue that we all need to embrace, and at the same time, government got to respond to it. With regards to children, even in private schools, I don't know who approves these school plans these days in terms of the school structures and development, because you're going to pick up that most of the schools are not even having sporting facilities. So now, if you don't, as a child, when I went to school, the country that I went to school to, we used to have what was called physical education. It was part of the curriculum. You're going to have to play all the sporting disciplines that are so cheap, like your netballs, your soccer, your volleyballs. You know, some of this, they don't need a lot of money, but government has to invest in that. Invest in facilities and infrastructure and ensure that whatever school that got to be built, children need to have facilities where they develop in terms of playing sports, so that now you don't get so many kids on the streets. Because now somebody who might not be very, very academically gifted, they know that they've got an option of pursuing sport. But now if you look in this developed society like South Africa, now the children who can only actually progress sporting-wise are those who are going to your private kind of schools where they've got sporting disciplines like cricket, rugby, which is not everywhere in Soweto. I don't know which schools plays primary schools or secondary schools are playing cricket or rugby in Soweto, or Mamelodi in Pretoria, or Hammanskraal. So that's the reason why now. So once these kids realize now I'm struggling with my academic work, they come on the streets. They want to play on the streets because there's no any other elsewhere they're going to go and expend that energy. You as a parent, you know that if your children are just being truant in the house, you take them to the nearest mall, you take them to fun company, they play around those games and all that. Even when you go home, they are sleeping in the car because they are tired. So now without sporting discipline happening to so many of the children, they come home, they've got so much energy in them, they are just eating and not doing anything. So that's why some of them now decide, no, let's go on the street and start begging for money. And also maybe the schools themselves, the teachers are not also paying serious attention to these kids and say, who's not coming and why are they not coming? And for society as it is today, you have become so much individualistic, self-centered kind of families where I don't care about what happens to my neighbor's child. Or
Sure.
even if I care, the parents might not be forthcoming. Because they'll say, mind your own business. I'm minding my own business. That's the kind of attitude in society that we are actually developing into.
Thank you so much, Clement, for...
And also, before I go, my parting
Yes.
shot also, in a society now where we seem to celebrate criminality, that's what you also get. So people will be looking and say, okay, why should I really go to school? You know, that's why at least those who are not academically good, if they were to now get more access to sporting facilities, you're going to have a lot of soccer players coming out of that. A lot of netball players, a lot of volleyball
And listen,
players.
John
Actually,
Perlman is very passionate about facilities and those things. He does that work through his foundation. Thank you, Clement. Godfrey from Edenvale, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Relebogile.
Yes.
Yes, Relebogile. There's also one point. As soon as you go and drop your child off at school, the teacher comes and approaches you and tells you there's no water. And most of the parents send their kids with transport. So at the end of the day, you find those are the kids that are sitting on the robots with the crates and doing all these funny things.
Sure. There are so many issues. And the one about water, I mean, I would assume that if the kids go in and the parent isn't the one that dropped them off and they say there's no water, then the kids are the one who become free to go off and do their own thing. Your voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile. Afternoon, 702 landers. Levuyo from Ruluport. I just want... For me, I feel like it's mostly their parents, because it's more easy to feel sympathetic for a child on the street than rather to feel sympathetic for an adult who's asking for money. I mean, you see a child, some of us will go, you shouldn't be here, and you give them money. So I fully think it's the parents' responsibilities. They send their kids out there to say, yeah, you would do a better job than I.
Sure, guys, we have many problems. One says on the WhatsApp line, those who are saying that they're not doing any harm, this is the attitude we get from some South Africans, normalizing what is wrong as the black communities. Afternoon, Relebogile, great show. I stay in Mqashi and I complain about that, and I got told this is not a suburb. What? Really? Really? So you must keep your mouth shut about kids not being in school. Another one says those kids are losing out on schooling, their future. It means they're going to be a societal problem. Afternoon, Relebogile, it's almost the end of the first term, so they usually don't do anything at school, hence they don't attend. Guys, are we aware that when a parent hands their child over to a school, even if the curriculum is done, it's not everybody do their own thing? And I don't think that should be a privilege. If you don't have sporting facilities, if you don't have whatever, but at least have a rule that they can't leave the premises. Because what of the parent who is at work, not aware? Let's say hypothetically, because when the robots opened, these kids were weaving through moving cars. So if that one child got run over and something happened to them, and the parent was not even aware that their child left the school premises, and the excuse is, well, the curriculum was done. Let's assume they're attending a public school. I would say that parent should sue the Department of Education. Because what do you mean, well, the curriculum is finished? If it's finished, then your teachers are free to be doing something with those kids. Maybe I'm speaking from a place of privilege, But when we finished our curriculum in our advanced maths class, the teacher came and said, what do you guys want to do with this lesson that's productive? And we decided to prepare a Christmas carol song because some of the students also played instruments. That's what we did. It is unacceptable. One more voice note or two. Yo, I'm so upset.
I would just like to say parents need to start parenting. The mobile phone you put in your child's hand is doing more harm to that kid. But you think you're being kind. You're exposing your children to porn, pedophiles that troll your kids have got emotional issues, and they've got no coping skills, and they can't come to you and talk to you about things. Since when did parents stop being parents? Really?
Hi, it's very, very sad. But right now as well, the kids are doing exams. So they actually only go to school when they're doing the exams. And a lot of these kids, as you said, are child-headed households, responsible maybe for even smaller kids. And also, they're starving. They maybe don't have parents anywhere or anyone looking after them. I don't know. It's very difficult to get the police into this, and social services breaks them up as a family. And maybe they get taken to a home or something and leave other family members, smaller kids, fending for themselves. It's just tragic. And a lot of them are very talented. Sibs.
From Ocean View mornings to safari sunsets, your next unforgettable travel adventure starts with Club Med South Africa on 702.
Indeed, let's rather travel with Club Med South Africa than be upset about our societal issues. But I commit to us bringing this back. We need to get a response from the department, and we definitely need to get a response, not just from education, also of social work. But guess what, guys? A beach holiday or safari adventure, can you imagine if you don't have to choose? The new Club Med Beach and Safari Resort in KwaZulu-Natal brings you both in one breathtaking destination, so you can spend your days relaxing by the ocean or spotting the Big Five, and your evenings enjoying world-class dining and entertainment. And it's a holiday unlike any other. So book your stay today at clubmed.co.za with a Club Med travel advisor or your preferred travel agent. And we asked one of you send a WhatsApp voice note. Tell us the top 3 things that you would take with on this trip and why. Let's take a listen.
Hi Lebza, Aubrey and Fosloras of ID 840408550608. For my safari, I will pack first of all my solar light. Why? To keep the lights on so that we are not being attacked by lions while we're camping and stuff. And then my sleeping bag when I Lebza. Why? So that I can zip myself in to run away from the mosquitoes in the bush. And then lastly, I will pack my rechargeable radio to keep tuned to 702, of course. Thanks a lot, Lebza. Have a nice day.
So Aubrey sent the voice note. Aubrey, hi Shem, wait till you're a smart guy. I see what your strategy was. Aubrey, I see your strategy.
No, when I left, the ESCOM has taught us that we have to have rechargeable lights.
The last one. We say I must take my radio so I can keep listening to 702.
Yes, I want to listen to Obsa while I'm there. One of those late hours.
At night.
So Vito will be updating me on everything when.
Listen, I'm looking at the room. And everybody, even our upcoming guest, is smiling. So net verduiding, Aubrey, congratulations. You are in for the draw that will be taking place on Friday. You could be walking away with an all-inclusive beach getaway for 2 with 70,000 Rand, thanks to the new Club Med South Africa Beach and Safari Resort on 702. Stay on the line. Aubrey, let's take your details. That strategy, I have to admit, that was really, really, really clever. So for your chance to win, tune in to 702 Afternoons with me to find out more T's and C's and more on primemediaplus.com.
Sunday.
A day to exhale.
To breathe in the melody.
Melody.
Unwind with Soulful Sundays on 702.
Kenny Maestri starts your day with smooth R&B
and timeless classics from 10 a.m.
At 2 p.m., Pushaza Sibia keeps the good vibes flowing
with rich, soulful sounds. And as the night sets in,
let Nothemba Madumo take you on a journey with jazz and beyond
from 5 to 7 p.m. Soulful Sundays.
Relax, unwind,
and let the music move you.
Only on 702.
702. Let's walk the talk.
Water is a precious and limited resource that we all depend on. Johannesburg Water continues to strengthen the city's water network through improved turnaround times for leak repairs, pressure management, and infrastructure upgrades to improve system reliability. But water conservation is a shared responsibility. Residents can help by fixing household leaks, turning off taps, taking shorter showers, and using water wisely. Every drop saved helps. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
RSV is a common virus that affects the airways and lungs, especially in babies and children. So to find out more and to learn about how you can keep a little one safe, today, 7:02 afternoons, we'll be in conversation with pharmaceutical company Sanofi, keeping the health of your kids top of mind. We'll be delving into symptoms, preventions and awareness around RSV. So make sure you tune in after the news together against RSV.
702.
Belief matters.
Exploring culture, traditions, religion,
and the beliefs that shape our world.
7 minutes to 2 o'clock in our Belief Matters feature for today. We are talking iftar. And if you're like, what is that? Well, we've got director at Nizamiye Mosque to chat to us. Doctor, please help me with the exact pronunciation of your name. My anger levels have gotten me to completely forget, and I don't want to respectfully mess it up.
It's Aiden Inal.
Aiden Inal. Thank you so much, Doctor, and welcome to the show. Doctor, what is iftar?
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. Iftar is basically a dinner when Muslims have at the end of the full day of fasting. So it's nothing special. It's just whatever you eat in the evening. But in most cases, people break their fast and start by eating a date or drinking some water. Apart from that, it's just a normal dinner.
But I feel like you say it's nothing special. And I've been there in people's homes. And I'm like, this is quite something. Can you talk to us about what the things are? Why is the date used to break the fast, and what are some of the choices of foods that are chosen? Because outside of the spiritual aspect, there's also, you understand physically in the body things are happening, that you ate at sunrise last, and now this is your first meal after what could have been more than 12 hours.
That's correct. Yeah, we stop eating from about an hour before sunrise, and then we only eat at the sunset. Yes, of course. Well, because of its importance within the religious practice, people do pay a bit more attention. You would have more on the menu because you've been hungry the whole day. And,
lots of side dishes and options.
Dishes, yes, especially like if you are in different places in the country. But in Moscow, you go to have savories, your samosas, and etc. But the significance of date is, I suppose, it comes from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because in his time, obviously, date was one of the main dishes. But also, there are in many occasions he did recommend having date, and it's a sweet food after a long day of fasting. It balances, it brings your sugar levels up quick. So it helps at the end of a hungry day to start with a sweet food.
Can you help us understand the person preparing, which I know is more than often the woman in the house? How do they decide? Because you will have your personal preferences, but how do they decide what to include each and every day that you break your fast?
I suppose it depends. The culture plays a lot of important role here. You will go into different cultural settings. You will find people choose to eat different kinds of foods. For example, I was born in Turkey, so we love soup. So we have to have soup, especially end of a hungry day, because it almost prepares your stomach for what is to come afterwards.
Especially because your stomach got small the whole day, and the soup just eases.
Correct.
Nice.
Correct. Yeah. And then locally in South Africa, lots of savories are preferred. And in Cape Town, for example, there are special food like they call it boeber. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with that. It's a sweet sort of milk and some muesli is inside. It's a beautiful dish. So yeah, the culture plays a lot of importance in that.
And then can we talk about if a woman is pregnant or a person is sick? What are the exceptions that a person can break their fast? And what does that also become iftar if you break your fast in the middle of the day because of a medical issue or because you're pregnant?
Well, from a religious perspective, from Islamic perspective, actually, for one to perform religious responsibilities, health is a condition. If you are not healthy, you don't have to fast, or you don't have to do some of the other things. But if during the day, let's say you start fasting and somehow you meet a medical condition, you can break your fast. But obviously that is a medical emergency. It's whatever you need, your body needs. So it's not actually necessarily an iftar sort of a meal because it's an emergency situation. But you don't have to fast if you are suffering from a medical condition. Or like you said, you're pregnant. The pregnant women don't need to fast because they need regular nourishment.
How do you start to, and at what age, teach children to prep to fast? I've heard of some parents that their kids, even at the age of around 7, 8, are already ready. And maybe you can talk to us about how that is done in preparing them and when you know they're actually ready to do a complete full day fast and then participate in iftar.
Well, in Islam, the puberty is the main sort of starting point for one to practice the religion fully. But in most cases, like you said, children from age maybe even 6, 7, 8, they would start fasting, but they would start in a month, maybe once or twice. And then the following year, they would fast a few more days. And then long before they reach the puberty, they're already fasting the full month because they want to take part in the atmosphere, because everyone sees it. It's a spiritual, it's a celebratory environment. So it's not just hunger. So a child sees everyone going into a different mood, more spiritual, in terms of more sort of compassionate. So they want to be a part of it. So they want to start fasting long before they have to.
Are there any rules or guidelines about who the meal needs to be broken with? Because I would imagine that everybody wants to break the meal with family. I have been in homes where fasting was broken and we joined the meal.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. I mean, there's no rules around it. But as I mentioned, I was born in Turkey, and especially in Turkish culture, Ramadan is always an opportunity to invite people, to meet with families, to bring other people into your homes, to visit other people. So we also, in a way, we try to bring that kind of a tradition into South African environments. So we do invite our friends for iftar meals, but not just our Muslim friends, but we believe it's a time we can make connections, we can invite others. So we do try to practice this by inviting others to either our homes or to our more formal functions. For example, at Nizamiya complex, we do have a number of iftar meals, formal meals, where we invite people, Muslim, non-Muslim, to come together and break fast, and also in that environment have conversations, learn from one another, because there is a lot that we need to learn from one another. And while people come and ask a lot about fasting, but also we also learn when they come and they tell us, for example, about Lent. And they would come and tell us about the dietary requirements in Hinduism. So, yeah.
And I thank you so much for coming through and sharing that with us. So there you have it. It's called Iftar, 7:02 afternoons at 702.co.za. If you have any topics you'd like us to cover on Belief Matters in the next hour of the show, we don't have Wendy Nola with us. We are going to be talking RSV and what it's all about, as well as the growing demand for organic and natural products. It's 1 minute after 2 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Zingisa Cherwa. Action SA says it will investigate its members implicated in the Madlanga Commission. This after evidence in the commission showed Tshwane Councillor Khulufelo Morodi sharing internal tender documents with Gauteng Cop Sergeant Fani Ngosi. The Action SA member, who is also the MMC for Corporate and Shared Services, WhatsApped Ngosi a document showing bid specifications for land lease tenders. At the time, Ngosi was in touch with a number of officials at the Metro to secure a tender for his brother's company. Ngosi is still before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, probing criminality, political interference and corruption within police. Thabiso Goba reports.
WhatsApp messages before the Madlanga Commission show that on the 2nd of December 2024, Sergeant Fani Ngosi and Action SA Councillor Khulufelo Morodi were together celebrating her birthday. On the same day, Morodi sent Ngosi a message thanking him for making her birthday special. The message is then followed by an internal Tshwane municipality document which outlines the municipality's recommended specifications for a number of land lease tenders. Ngosi says he had no interest in the tenders.
We had a discussion about the land that were to be leased to the public. She then sent this to me that these are the kind of buildings that the city leased. So this one automatically, I think it was already been cancelled. It was on a public platform.
At the same time, Action SA has released a statement saying it will be initiating an investigation against all its members implicated at the commission. Thabiso Goba, Eyewitness News.
The case against the man accused of killing two Mamelodi cousins has been postponed. In October last year, Tebogo Mnisi was arrested for the murder of 22-year-old Siamo and 21-year-old Baliseng Moramaga, as well as the attempted murder of a man who was with the pair at the time of the attack. Mnisi has been in custody since his arrest after he abandoned his bail application. He made a brief appearance in the Mamelodi Magistrate Court today, where it was revealed that the J88 form and one post-mortem report are outstanding. NPA spokesperson Lumka Mahanjana says the case is back in court on the 20th of May.
Tebogo Mnisi, facing charges of 2 counts of premeditated murder of 2 female cousins from Mamelodi, attempted murder, possession of unlicensed firearm, and possession of unlawful ammunition, has been postponed to the 20th of May for further investigations.
Police are inspecting security boss Calvin Matibedi's company premises in Durban North, KwaZulu-Natal. This after the Durban High Court dismissed Matibedi's urgent application to prevent the search. Officers on the ground say they're checking the business firearms compliance as part of a nationwide operation looking into security companies. The inspection comes amid an ongoing defamation court battle between the security boss and KZN police head Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And Iranian Football Federation President Mehdi Taj says his country will boycott the United States, but not the World Cup. In a video released by Iranian press agency Fars, Taj says Iran will prepare for the World Cup. Iran's Football Federation has opened talks with FIFA about potentially relocating its matches from the United States, though the global governing body has so far maintained that the tournament schedule remains unchanged. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says her country is prepared to host Iran's first-round matches if required due to the conflict in the Middle East. Iran's participation at the summer finals in the United States, Canada and Mexico has been in doubt since the war began last month, with President Donald Trump warning that the safety of Iranian players would be at risk if they traveled to the U.S. In your financials, gold is trading at $4,653.64 an ounce. The rand is 16.85 to the dollar, 22.38 to the pound, and 19.33 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $114.47 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you're traveling towards Sandton, there's an accident seen on the M1 southbound near Greyston Drive, causing about a 20-minute delay all the way from Woodmead Drive. Look out for those traffic lights not working. Devlin Golden Highway in Maine. There's also traffic lights out of order in Sharon Lee at Malibungo Drive and the N1.
Gauteng's partly sunny with showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures peaked at highs of between 25 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Action SA says it will investigate its members implicated in the Madlanga Commission.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 7:02 afternoons, with me, Relebogile Mabotja. And we don't have Wendy Nola with us today for our Consumer Rights feature. Don't worry, she'll be back next week. What we do have is an important conversation coming up about RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, and how it affects children and what parents can do to protect their families this season. And we then will move on to South Africa's growing demand for organic and natural products. There's an expo, and we will chat about that. So get in touch with us, 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
702 in conversation with Dr. Shakira Abrahams, Vaccines Medical Manager at Sanofi, is brought to you by Sanofi, together against RSV. And if you are wondering what is RSV, don't worry. That is what the conversation is going to be about. Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Doctor, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Doctor, share with us on a very basic level what RSV is.
So as you've mentioned, so RSV is the respiratory syncytial virus, right? So as it says, it's a respiratory tract disease. So it is a common seasonal virus that affects the airways and the lungs, so your nose, your throat. And in severe cases, it moves down to the lungs, and that can cause pneumonia, it can cause bronchiolitis, right? And that's really severe cases where infants are hospitalized. So this virus, like I said, it's a seasonal virus. It often occurs from about Feb to May, so this is really a good time to talk about it. And it often affects infants, newborns and infants under the age of 1 year. And by the time when an infant or a baby has reached 2 years old, almost all babies would have had RSV, whether it's mild or whether they've been hospitalized.
Okay, so if you are to describe it in layman's terms, is it flu-like, cold-like? What is it similar to?
Yeah, so initially it's a cold, like it has cold-like symptoms, right? So it starts with the nose, it starts with the throat. So it's just, your common cold symptoms, right? So trouble eating, coughing, runny nose. But if it becomes a bit more severe, right, then it can cause irritability. So low activity, meaning they don't play as much, they're not as playful, and you'll notice it in a baby, right? So poor feeding, they don't eat well, pauses in breathing, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to have a fever, but sometimes a fever does occur, right? So when it becomes a bit more severe, not a bit, actually quite a bit severe, where
Yes.
hospitalization is required, right? This is where the baby would wheeze, they'd have trouble breathing, they would be dehydrated, and sometimes even like a discoloration around their lips and skin. And like I mentioned, so this is when it actually moves into the lungs and it becomes very severe, and it leads to pneumonia and also bronchiolitis, right? So that in layman's term, what it is. So as I've mentioned, it does really affect infants under the age of 1 year old. Also about 2 in 10 children under the age of 6 months are hospitalized with RSV every season.
Okay, in terms of, and especially for parents that are listening, when you have a new child, and let's say it's the first, but even when it's not the first, you will always sort of feel like, oh, maybe I'm overreacting. When you're trying to decide at what point should you take a child to a doctor, and at what point should you be taking a child maybe to a pediatrician. Outside of temperature, which is the usual gauge, and even then some parents will be like, done the panado, let's wait and see. What is the 1 or 2 things that you say, if this is presenting itself, go straight to the emergency room?
So I would say definitely poor feeding and dehydration when your baby has not been eating and you can see the baby's unwell. But also in terms of trouble with breathing, any trouble with breathing, I think that is your first sign that you definitely should take your baby to see a healthcare practitioner. I think those are the top 2 things that I would say. When to seek care. Like I said, mostly it's mild cold-like symptoms, but I think that's really when you see that the child is entering, the severe form of the disease.
How do you now, as medical professionals, actually formally diagnose? And is it a parallel process that once you've brought the child in, you are going to be treating the symptoms while also trying to figure out what it is? Or is it treat and wait and see if it's more?
So usually the treatment includes symptomatic treatment. So this means that you're treating all the symptoms. So if there's trouble breathing, you treat that. You provide fluids if there's trouble with feeding and poor and dehydration, right? So basically it is just symptomatic treatment, treating the symptoms. You do get tests to diagnose with RSV, but often healthcare providers do treat the symptoms before even diagnosing with RSV.
Why are preemie babies a little bit more vulnerable to RSV?
So I would actually say all infants are vulnerable because infants are, they have small airwaves, their lungs are underdeveloped. So it makes all newborns and infants under the age of 6 months very vulnerable, right? So same case with preemies, the lungs are small, underdeveloped, and this is why they're also seen as vulnerable, right? But I think the messaging is really all infants are at risk for severe disease. It's very difficult to predict which infant will develop severe disease. So it's not really just preemies and those high-risk babies that develop severe RSV.
So what are you advising parents of newborns and infants to do from a preventative perspective? And maybe you can share, because you already said that by the time most children reach a certain age, they probably have already had it. Do they need to be concerned about anything if there are no symptoms?
So generally there will be symptoms, right? But in terms of prevention, right? So, at home prevention, you just make sure that you keep your newborn or your very small baby away from sick siblings, away from sick adults, making sure that they don't share any type of toys or feeding tools or anything like that. Just basically keeping them safe away from any type of pathogens and bugs, right? I know that's very difficult to do. And, but especially as we enter the season of RSV and also flu, just keeping them safe from any type of sick individuals. But then also, if you go to your healthcare provider, you can speak to them about other preventative methods, right? So that's your vaccines, that show antibodies that exist these days. And these are wonderful preventative measures that can be taken these days. So there are different levels of prevention that you can then execute.
Definitely no visits when your child is sick. Leave them there. Don't expose
No
other
visits.
kids to the child. What vulnerabilities, if any, do adults have to a child or a baby who is experiencing RSV?
So, as I said, the most vulnerable populations are those with, the little babies with underdeveloped lungs, and that's just, don't really have a robust immune system, right? So us adults, as we grow older, we can deal with the virus a bit better. Then your adults, your elderly with comorbidities, they seem to be more vulnerable to RSV disease as well. So it's mainly your little babies, and then it's also your older, your elderly population.
If we are to look at the impact on South African families, you are speaking about obviously us preparing to go into this flu season. And doctor, I'm going to be very real with you. I'm quite nervous because there have been some mornings that are exceptionally cold, which leads me to believe that we're in for quite a rough winter. Talk to us about all of the other factors that maybe are unique to us as South Africans when it comes to RSV and RSV season.
Yeah, like I said, it does. The disease does affect families. It does affect babies. Every year, about 96,000 hospitalizations of infants under the age of 1 year old are hospitalized with RSV. So just like I said again, just make sure that your baby is protected against any type of sick individuals, any sick siblings, just keeping them safe, making sure that they don't share any type of toys and feeding tools that may be contaminated, especially, as babies are also in creche, and there's a lot of bugs happening at that in going around in creche. So making sure that they just stay safe and protected during that period. But also, like I said, there are some medical interventions that can be used, like vaccinations and antibodies. They can protect infants from RSV.
So if we are to look at what you mentioned around creche, from your perspective as a doctor, and parents will often toy with the idea of keeping the child home for as long as possible. And I'm not just talking about starting creche, but maybe during seasons like this, versus letting them go to school and actually start to build a bit of an immune system. What are your views on that? And what are the scenarios where you say, do not ever send your child to school?
Look, I can speak to RSV specifically, right? So we know that those small babies are at high risk, right? So it's up to the parent to decide, whether or not they want to take that risk. Like I said, it's unpredictable to know which baby will then develop severe RSV disease, right? So I think it's up to the parent, but if they know the disease, if they know the severity of the disease, I think they would want to take measures to ensure that their baby is protected, whatever the measure is, right? So it's really up to them, but I think I would also implore parents to then get educated on the disease, get educated on the complications that the disease can cause, right? So it's not also just about having a sick baby right now. So RSV also have long-term complications, which can cause recurring admission to the hospital. It can cause wheezing in the long term. It can cause asthma. So think about all of those factors and determine the risk, right? Do you really want to have your baby in those type of environments? Just making sure that you protect your baby, speaking to your healthcare provider about vaccinations and immunizations around RSV, getting all of that medical advice from experts. So I would say just, get educated on the topic, get educated on preventative methods, and then decide from there.
Can you please share with us, you touched on long-term effects. What are some of the long-term effects, and maybe let's use extreme cases just to emphasize the severity of RSV and why we need to pay attention?
So in terms of long-term effects, like I said, there's a high association between babies who were admitted to hospital with severe RSV and then having long-term complications within 5 years of their life, right? So like I said, this is recurrent wheezing, this is asthma, and it also affects the quality of their life, right? So they won't be able to play sports, or it makes it very difficult to play sports. There is also an association seen where these babies are admitted to hospital again, after they have improved from their RSV symptoms. They often do see the healthcare practitioner a lot more with lung disease if they have contracted RSV disease or severe disease in early infancy.
When we look at the kind of support that healthcare providers do have available for parents, can you share with us, and also maybe the accessibility? We've seen over the years how your local pharmacy now has a nurse and a clinic, and it's so much easier to pop in.
Yeah. So of course, yeah, I think I'm sure a lot of healthcare practitioners, from what I've heard, they're quite busy during the RSV season, right? So I think speaking to any one of them, getting educated on what the disease is, what the complications are, how you can prevent it, I think that would be really useful. Also, like I said, also to determine the risks that are involved and how you as a parent can take measures to prevent RSV disease in your infant, and also to protect them against this disease, right? So I think just speak to the experts. They'll support you in terms of disease education, in terms of which preventative methods are out there. So yeah, just getting contact with them.
And in terms of stats, what are you able to share with us when we look at the statistics of this?
So I think in short, like I said, by the age of 2, almost every single child would have had RSV. Every year, about 96,000 babies under 1 year old are admitted to the hospital with RSV. Around 1 in 7 newborns under 1 month old are hospitalized with severe RSV. Nearly 1 in 3 lung infections in infants are caused by RSV. So you can see that RSV is a main driver of lung disease, right? And it really just speaks to why it is important to understand the disease and why we need to protect our babies and our infants against this disease.
Can we talk about misdiagnosis and how that can happen? And if it does happen, why one should not overly be concerned at issues of maybe negligence or not paying attention? Because from what you described, it's so close to any other respiratory virus.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, right? Because I wouldn't say it's misdiagnosed. I would say it's underdiagnosed, right? Because often enough we think it's just a flu, it's just a cold, it's just a lung infection, but it's most of the time it's RSV, right? And like I said, this can lead to severe disease like pneumonia and bronchiolitis. So it's definitely something that is underdiagnosed because it's not often tested for. It's often diagnosed as a lower respiratory tract infection. And it's often seen as just a disease of the lower respiratory tract infection. So I wouldn't say misdiagnosed, but I would say underdiagnosed.
Well, then the question would be, if it's which is worse, underdiagnosis or misdiagnosis? Because for me as a non-medical person, I'm like, well, misdiagnosis sounds like they were at least trying to search for something beyond just basic symptoms. But from a medical perspective, what are your thoughts?
So the issue is that whether it's lower respiratory tract infection diagnosis or whether it's RSV, the treatment remains the same. So there's no real difference in the treatment, and I wouldn't think that misdiagnosis in terms of labeling it as a lower respiratory tract infection would cause complications because the treatment pattern or the treatment remains the same. So yeah.
And then what is the risk of treatment happening but symptoms recurring, and the medical professionals around not specifically testing for that? And maybe you can give us guidance here, doctor, that under respiratory situations in infants, is RSV included in sort of okay, we need to run further tests, and that just automatically becomes part of the items on the list?
Yeah, so it's like I said, especially because it's a seasonal virus, right? So often when a baby is hospitalized in season with a lower respiratory tract infection, meaning an infection of the lungs, it's often assumed that the baby has RSV, right? And like I said, that's when the same symptomatic treatment then happens. So in terms of, what the complications would be, like I said, there's no real predictability on severity of disease, right? So you can't say, oh, it's a preemie baby, the baby will have severe RSV disease. So it's just the evolution of the disease and how it then affects the infant. But I wouldn't say that there's something that, misdiagnosis or, something different that the doctor could do to then prevent it. The only real prevention is, according to the WHO, is immunization and vaccination.
And what are your thoughts? Because we do have a group of parents, and I can't say how big or small, that are anti-vaccines in general. What would you like to really speak to that?
Yeah, I think that's an important topic, right? Especially moms with newborns. You want to protect your baby, right? So I think as long as the public understands that these interventions are backed by clinical evidence, there is robust clinical trials that goes into ensuring that the products or the vaccines or the immunizations are safe for use, right? It gets regulated, it gets approved by our South African regulatory authority. So there's a lot of research that goes into these products to make sure that it's safe, right? And also for some of these interventions, like the antibodies, there's been almost a decade worth of clinical development that went into this to ensure that it's safe and that it's efficacious. But also in terms of, just getting that education, making sure that you're getting your information from a reputable source, from experts. And I know with social media these days, it just gets a bit crazy, right? With getting information from every single person with no real expertise in the field. So I would say best person to go to is go to a healthcare provider, get information on, preventive strategies, get information on the disease. And I think that is the most reputable source that you can get, just to get more educated on vaccines and prevention, antibodies with RSV, and then as well as the disease.
And without us completely dismissing the individuals who do have concerns, what are the concerns that are usually raised? And maybe we, like you said, consulting a healthcare professional, because Dr. Google and Dr. ChatGPT have entered the house. But what are the concerns that are raised by those that are anti-vaccinating their babies?
It's mostly just around safety, right? So is this safe for my baby? What are the long-term complications? Those are the main concerns, and which I actually do understand, right? So that's why I'm saying a lot of research goes into these interventions to make sure that it is safe for babies and for use.
And is it a once-off vaccine, or is it one that forms part of the usual checklist that you carry in baby's booklet?
So at this point, no, it's not. But I think your healthcare provider can provide you with more information on when and how to get these preventative strategies.
What are your final thoughts, Doctor, on this very important conversation?
My final thoughts are that RSV is a disease that is seasonal. It can be cold, it can be mild with cold-like symptoms, but it can also be severe and very detrimental, right? And the problem comes in that with the fact that we can't predict who will have severe RSV, and this is why we need to protect all infants, right? That is my messaging, understanding that the disease can be detrimental to families. It can cause long-term effects or complications like I've mentioned. But then also just speak to your healthcare provider, because the best way to prevent the disease is through preventative methods like vaccinations and immunizations with antibodies, which your healthcare provider can speak to you more about.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for chatting to us, especially because parent is just full of big decisions, and keeping your little one healthy is the top priority where you have respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, as we all know, being this virus that affects the lungs and airways, especially in young children. So have you heard of it? Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV. Most parents haven't, even though 2 out of 3 babies will be infected by it before their first birthday. For most babies, RSV causes mild cold-like symptoms, but for some of them, it can get worse and lead to bronchiolitis or pneumonia, which might require a trip to the doctor or even lead to hospitalization. Sanofi is working to support families during RSV season by sharing guidance on simple preventative steps to keep your baby safe. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Police have flagged a few discrepancies while conducting a firearm compliance inspection at one of security boss Calvin Matibedi's business premises in KwaZulu-Natal. They are querying the number of firearms found on the property against what they are licensed to have. The inspection comes after Matibedi lost a court challenge to halt the inspection. The family of a 19-year-old boy who was shot and killed at a spaza shop in Driftsands in Cape Town says they are struggling to come to terms with his death. Lita Govuza and a friend were attacked by alleged extortionists while buying food at a local spaza shop. His friend survived the shooting and was rushed to hospital. And Chinese tech giant Alibaba has missed revenue expectations in its December quarterly earnings. The company, which runs some of China's biggest online shopping platforms, has seen its core e-commerce business squeezed by price wars and a slowing consumption in the world's second largest economy. Those are the headlines this EWN, more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, if you're heading towards Sandton, we're still dealing with that accident seen on the M1 southbound near Grayston, causing about a 20-minute delay all the way from Woodmead Drive. Otherwise, the rest of 702 Land not looking too bad. Just look out for faulty traffic lights slowing down traffic in Sharon Lee at Malibongo Drive, and the N1 traffic lights also not working in Kaya Sand at Malibongo Drive and Boundary. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says he's dissatisfied with Minister on Special Leave Senzo Mkhunu's decision to disband the Political Killings Task Team without informing him.
So why doesn't he fire him? So if the president is saying to us that he's dissatisfied with the reasons given by suspended Minister Senzo Mkhunu for the scrapping of the PKTT, then fire the oak. Don't say anything. If indeed the whole issue is that, no, you are following due process and policy and laws.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
It's time to save big. Don't miss out on Telkom's biggest sale of the year. Get unbeatable prices and incredible savings on smartphones, data, and more. Hurry! The Blue Bargain Sale is for a limited time. Call 10213, click telkom.co.za, download the My Telkom app, or visit any Telkom shop.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5, it's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
This Easter, it's time to do it proper. Join us at Chamberlain's superb Easter savings from the 19th of March to the 6th of April. We have everything you need to make your spot lekker. Grab the Tenco camping chair for just 449 Rand. That's camping, done proper. Light the fire with the right gear. That's braai, done proper. And give your home a glow up with 10% off paint mixing on Chamber Value and Finest 1983 paints. That's DIY, done proper. One store, one stop, one proper setup. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Some holidays give you the beach. Some give you the bush. What if one destination gave you both? This July, a world-first travel experience arrives in KZN with the opening of Club Med South Africa Beach and Safari Resort. To celebrate, 702 and Club Med South Africa are giving you the chance to win an all-inclusive beach getaway for two worth 70,000 Rand. Are you ready to experience the ultimate escape with Club Med? Tune in to 702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabotja, weekdays between 1 and 3 p.m. to find out how to enter Club Med South Africa Beach and Safari Resort on 702. T's and C's and more on primemeterplus.com. Coming up
on 702 Drive.
702 drivers coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. And Khomotso Modise will be standing in for John Perlman for today. Ma'am, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, Libs.
Firstly, it's so fun that you stand in for me now. You're standing in for John. You really can stand in for anybody.
Listen, I hope I do half as good a job as you guys do. I'm having a lot of fun doing this right now. So, yes.
So, can you stand in for me at home as a mom?
Listen, I'm struggling with that myself. So, I can't make you any promises. Not just yet.
Apparently, the more you have, the easier it gets. But I think people are trying to lure me into having another child.
I think you should. I think you're a great mom. Mutotlashe is very lucky to have you.
What's coming up on the show? Oh, wait, I have to ask you a question. Sorry.
Yes.
Earlier, we were talking about the fact that, and I'm not sure if you heard it, but I saw 4 kids driving up Santon Drive just as you've crossed Winnie Mandela.
Yes.
And at the intersection, so you've got your Caltex garage on the left. They were there. They looked to me like they're 9, 10 years old, primary school going age. And I couldn't understand why at 12 during the day, they're dancing on the street with crates for money. And I was like, I don't know who to call. So I called Pashida and we spoke about it on the show. Why are there kids that are not in school? What are they doing? And who do you call? And I know I know you have a view. So I want to hear your thoughts because I'm saying let's bring Department of Basic Education. Let's bring social development in. But what's missing? What's wrong?
No, I mean, it's a persisting societal problem. I don't think any child wants to be away from school. I think it's the situation. And I think if you were to speak to them and ask them questions, it will be a very eye-opening conversation. But you're right, social development is where it starts because the Department of Basic Education doesn't just enroll people in school, right? It's a process that a parent, a caregiver, a guardian must start.
But I have to say, sorry. Mm-hmm. So many parents that called in were saying, look, my kids are in school, but sometimes when the curriculum finishes early, they're just left to do their own thing. So I'm not going to assume that they're not in school at all.
Yes.
And I'm also not going to assume that they are in school and just, nobody was doing anything, so they kept it moving.
Yeah, so it's social development. That's where it starts. But also if you look at where we are in the school term, we're nowhere near the end of the term, are we? It doesn't seem like we are.
No, we are not.
So they should be in school. They should definitely be in school.
Sorry, I get very worked up about this. What's coming up on your show today?
So lots coming up on the show this afternoon. Of course, I'm looking forward to touching base with our reporters that are out and about at a number of stories, including the Mazanga Commission. Yesterday, we kind of, shifted our focus from the Mazanga Commission back to the ad hoc committee because Jenon Dantlamkwanazi was there. But there's still fireworks at the Mazanga Commission level. When
have there not been?
Yes.
You're speaking, fireworks is the standard. It should be the day they aren't fireworks that you say there were no fireworks.
Absolutely. So we're going to be touching base with Thabiso Koba, who's been following the testimony of Fani Nkosi, who's the sergeant there at the Madlanga Commission. And then I'm looking forward to a conversation we'll have later on in the show with the coach of the Blitzboks, the Sevens. Yes. And just about how, he's done exceptional work turning that team around.
Right.
Yes. And of course, this is following their World Series win. We're really excited about that. But what does that mean also for, rugby in our country? And how do we get the country to rally behind the Sevens as they do with the Bokke, right? So there's that conversation that we're going to have. And then I saw a really interesting story that I want us to speak about.
Yes.
And it's the story of a woman who had been bitten by a spider. It's called a violent spider. And she died 11 days afterwards. And it seems she went on about her life. I think she sought medical attention. She was assured that she's fine, given some antibiotics, it seems, and some meds. But then she went on to die. And I was thinking, do we know when we should get medical attention after a spider bite? Or, mainly a spider bite, because right now in our houses, how many times do you spot a spider and you think, this might be a little spider, should push it away, it lands on you and you don't take it seriously. But there are instances where you should be seeking medical attention and you could avoid even death or further illness. And you know how we've all learnt in school, like you'll hear about the black widow spider and how you should take that bite seriously.
Nobody is looking to say,
is that a black widow?
Are you a black widow, girl? Are you a house snake? No. So, we're going to treat them. So can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
My nanny, we sent her for a first aid course.
Yes.
And one of the documents they gave her is for poison, what to do for different poison situations. Now, it's got multiple things, like if your child has consumed bleach and it tells you, this one drink milk, this one drink water, this one whatever. On that list includes the poison control numbers, but also the numbers of who to call for different bites.
Yes.
Because sometimes you rush to the hospital thinking somebody's going to help me, but it's quite a specialized thing. And if the emergency doctor on call does not immediately think, let us make this phone call to find out, then it might not get treated immediately because antibiotics are not necessarily anti-venom, anti-anything. My son ate random mushrooms in the garden the one time and I freaked out, took pictures, rushed to the hospital and they had to call the specific center, give the mushrooms, tested, monitor. Only after they confirmed these are not poisonous. It's just little grass mushrooms. You're good to go. So I would say do not leave the emergency room until you have confirmation and stop trying to see what kind of snake this is.
Or the spider. Yes.
Ma'am, or spider. This ain't no Discovery Entertainment.
And then we wrap up the show with our music feature later on. And I'm looking forward to that feature because today we're asking, what's the one song that you used to sing as a child that you had no business singing? And now you listen back to the lyrics and you think, I sang that as an 11-year-old. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm going to just add one that I know many kids were singing is Thong Song by Cisco. Many kids were singing that song. Thank you, hosting 702 Drive, standing in for John Perlman from 3 to 6 p.m.
Part of the 702 family.
My name is Iwet Machinya Timbi. I like this station I've listened over the years since its inception. 702 is the best. There's no other radio station that can beat 702. Hala, 702.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. an airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
15 minutes to 3 o'clock. If you're tuning in, yes, Wendy Nola is not with us today in our consumer rights feature. But what it did do is give us an awesome opportunity to have a conversation around South Africa's growing demand for organic and natural products. So we are joined in studio by Warren Hickenbotham, co-founder of the Organic and Natural Products Expo Africa, and Gary Jackson, founder of Jackson's. And you'll hear why just now, why he's joining us. 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
What were you saying about spiders?
Yeah, no, not a fan. Not a fan. Stay away.
Stay away. So I have to find out, please do share with us about this growing demand from the perspective of what you do in your world with the expo. You know, I'm sure you travel and go and get exposed, but from what I observe and what we all observe is everybody's trying to move away from Western medicine, go back to natural. We look at our grandmothers that, you know, lived till over 100, no medication. They didn't even need antiperspirant, and they were eating morojo and papa, and they were okay. And now we are here taking 7 million different supplements, of which I would assume if we're popping ashwagandha, you know, capsules, we could probably just have it naturally. What are you seeing?
So I'm going to throw that question to Gary because he's been involved in the sector a lot longer than I have, and then I'll double on top of that with how we came in.
Mr. Jackson, you're the sixth Jackson, the missing Jackson.
So, yeah, I mean, people are sick. I think that's the bottom line. People are dying way too young. Kids don't have grandparents anymore, just like you said. So people are starting to ask questions about what's causing this. And so one of the things is, well, you can try, but it's probably the easiest. You can't control the air or the water that you consume, but what you eat, you can consume, you can control. And it's about getting as few ingredients in your food as possible and testing that food. That's where we've got to now to make sure that it's pesticide free. The pesticides erode our stomachs, and so it becomes really tough if you compromised, that your whole immune system starts getting inflamed, and that's why people are moving to this natural way of eating and doing more research. The youngsters are brilliant. They are so switched on. I mean, they learn through YouTube. It's incredible what they know.
I would even add, I mean, you spoke about pesticides and all those type of things, but I'm even looking at hormones and how we have little kids developing a lot earlier than maybe what my generation was, and all the extras that are added, whereas now you go to your supermarket and you want grass-fed, you want what is it called, free to roam, is that a free range? Okay, the ones where it's like, oh, did Piggy get to eat whatever they wanted, kind of a thing. And then we get the nightmares where you hear that there are labs where chickens don't have heads, and then they're just pumped in to go be in a deep fryer somewhere at a fast food chain. In terms of where we are, but also where we are as a country economically, versus this ideal life of more people wanting to go back to farm life, grow for yourself, do things from scratch. Is it matching up? Because it almost feels like you work like a dog to go back to the basics.
You're right. I can't say you're
Organic
wrong.
is more expensive a lot of the time?
Some of the time. In South Africa, not so much, because we want to get the market share. So we want our produce to be the same as your average supermarket, but you're getting the comfort of, where it's from, the farmer's name, and you know that he's a proper farmer because we go
Yes.
through all those checks. And I think that's important. It's about the soil. If the soil that they grow your food in is contaminated, you're dead out the block. So, you've really got to watch. And a lot of pesticides are sprayed on food after harvest. That's really scary. So they use it to extend shelf life. And with the proper organic, I've got some organic apples here, they just don't ever age. They just grown by one of the top farmers in South Africa.
Yes.
The apples are cheaper than the normal apples, and they like, when you were a kid, you bit an apple and
Yes.
then the juice went out
Yes.
and there was no core. You ate the skin. The only thing you left was the stalk.
Yes.
And that is amazing. So there's a lot of nostalgia in the city for milk with cream on, with real farm butter, with
Yes.
a proper egg that tastes, you eat one egg and you're full.
Yes.
It's a supermarket egg, you got to have 3. So
Yes.
the nutrient density and getting fuller quicker is a saving, actually.
Before I come to you, Warren, just to ask about the expo, I'm curious, Gary, what about the quality of the water we have? Do we at all need to be concerned? Because if, let's say, and I know there's so many people who are getting into urban farming where it doesn't matter that you even have an apartment. They really are trying their best to incorporate that into their lives. Do we have to have any concerns in Gauteng about the water we have, and that when we buy something organic, that it ticks all of the boxes?
So we make sure a lot of farms have borehole water, which is really, really clean, and we test. Soils are tested. So, when you buy from one of our small farmers, because we run a business that showcases the small guys.
Yes.
So if you walk through our stores, you won't recognize the brands because they're all unknowns, which is so cool. And we help them. There's a system where we can help them where to get water tests so that customers have comfort. But, obviously tap water is not so great, but you can filter it as much as you can. Other people just drink it like it is. So let's put it this way: there's a lot that is in water that shouldn't be in water to preserve it.
Let's hear about this expo, because I'm sure there's so many listeners who are literally hearing about it for the first time today.
Yeah, the expo, I think, kind of came out of what Gary's been touching on, and it was, general consumer thought patterns towards health has been an evolving theme for many, many years, for probably a decade. And slowly but surely it became more and more to the fore. And then, of course, COVID arrived. So if anyone wasn't thinking about health before COVID, they sure are after. And now with access to information, obviously everyone's getting a lot more educated with regards to what they're putting in their bodies. So the expo was born out of that increased awareness and consciousness. We'd seen patterns overseas within the sectors across Europe and the US, where the kind of trade shows, expos, events within the space were
Yes.
massive, huge, like multi-story affairs. And there was nothing going on here in Africa. Yet, we have in South Africa and Africa, broadly speaking, a massive, massive growing of natural organic products, indigenous products, things like scaletium, things like baobab, things like moringa. So we saw the opportunity to launch an expo, and here we are 5 years later.
Okay, so talk to us about the expo in terms of when we can expect to go and visit it and what we can expect to experience there. Like, are we going there to meet farmers? Are we going there to go and taste the difference between an organic duck egg and just a normal egg? What can a person go and get to enjoy there?
Sure. So I'll start with the dates and venues. We do 2 every year. Cape Town and Johannesburg. Cape Town is happening next month, 17th to 19th of April at Convention Centre, International Convention Centre in Cape Town. Johannesburg a little later in the year, 7th to the 9th of August at Sandton Convention Centre. You can expect to visit and really go and experience what is across the board through food and beverage, a lot of cosmetics and skincare for the ladies, all natural, using some amazing indigenous ingredients and essential oils. There's textiles, textiles, bras and underwear made of bamboo fabric or hemp or that kind of stuff. So completely natural, cross-category. We also have an association with SAOSO, who's the Organic Sector Association. So they govern who, if I don't know if it's really organic, I can either bring Gary in to help me or SAOSO. But really, as a consumer visitor, you can expect to leave with a head full of knowledge, hopefully a tummy full of goodies, and certainly a bag full of goodies to take home and learn more from.
Where do the conversation around organic and natural products intertwine or meet with the conversation around cannabis and cannabis products in South Africa?
I think it's very much one and the same thing. It's all about health and wellness and natural remedies. We started the conversation talking about medicine. You mentioned natural medicines. Your gogo didn't need medicine.
Yep.
So, people have lost trust in big pharma, so to speak. So they're looking more and more for natural ways to just stay healthy. There's a massive move towards preventative care. Why look after your health when you're sick? Look after it when you're healthy so that you stay healthy. So you can't take a medication, chronic medication, obviously you take every day or every week, but you want to get into an environment where you can do things on the daily that are going to enhance your health so that you don't get it. So to your point, CBDs, even psychedelics are coming to the fore now in terms of the research and health benefits. It's all about staying healthy and changing lifestyles.
From your perspective, Gary, I can hear from how you speak, you're quite passionate about this. What have you managed to incorporate into your daily life? I want somebody listening to not think of it as, okay, that's maybe something I can think about when I get rich or something I can think about when. What are some of the things people can start implementing in their day-to-day to move away from non-natural products with 7 million ingredients you can't pronounce and to go back to the basics?
So I guess the best way to answer that is to say to you that people don't understand what the word health means. It doesn't mean losing weight. Everyone thinks it means losing weight. It actually means getting your brain back, because mental health is crazy in this era. And it's affecting creativity, productivity. People are almost like in a zombie mode. And so it's about getting out of that zombie mode. So, the one of the things that you need to do, and that is make sure you're having olive oil, because that is the cleanest oil.
Uncooked
on your salads, on your veg that's steamed.
On everything.
Keep away from these spices and marinades. You got to buy meat that tastes like meat, right?
Yes.
You don't need to buy, and the best meat, is coming from far away. So if you buy it frozen, you must buy it frozen.
Yep.
So I eat a lot of green leafy veg. That is key for me. It's all about gut health, because your gut health determines everything. So if you don't have a good system, you're not having regular toilets visits once a day, and you're not having diarrhea or constipation, you're good. But if you have got those two, then it's a flag for you to find out what is wrong. And everybody's so different. It's like a fingerprint. So there isn't one answer for everybody, but we help people find that little puzzle piece that's missing in their lives. And if we can find out what they must eat less of, and also find out what they should eat more of, they become a customer for life.
Where do we find Jackson's?
We've got 2 branches, one in Bryanston Drive, right down at the bottom, 300 Bryanston Drive opposite the Riverside Shopping Centre, and it at Kailami Corner up on the upper level, right next to Burger King.
You guys also have like mohodu and so many things. I think I've had a friend that bought from there, and I was like, I didn't know they do that. And to anybody listening that wants to get in touch, maybe they want to be a part of the expo, where can they email?
Yeah, email me directly, warren@accesshealth.org, where the access, the X is the CC is an X, access. Or alternatively, just go to our website, organicandnaturalportal.com.
And is a word and not a symbol. Amphazan.
Correct.
The and. Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And I think this is the direction of the future. I guess I'll see you at the expo.
Shout if you need tickets.
Let's be honest. Africa could be doing way better. But complaining won't change anything. Getting involved will. If you care about Africa's future and want to be part of something that disrupts the status quo, then this is for you. Download the Our Platform app, which focuses on problem solving, global competitiveness, and self-love. Africa is changing the narrative. Don't get left behind. Download our platform. Say hello to the new look Africa.
The Audi Open House Sales event is here and you're invited. Come test drive a wide range of Audi models, take advantage of exclusive offers, and stand a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Formula One, courtesy of Audi. The Audi Open House Sales event is now on until 30th of April at Audi dealerships nationwide. Book your test drive today at audi.co.za. Terms and conditions apply.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
Thank you for joining us on 702 Afternoons. Back tomorrow. Stay tuned for Khomotso Modise standing in for John Perlman on 702 Drive. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Mandlanga Commission hears COP's role in Tshwane invoice dispute and discrepancies flagged at Calvin Matibedi's KZN premises. Good afternoon, I'm Zingisa Cherwa. The Mandlanga Commission of Inquiry, how Gauteng Cop Sergeant Faningosi tried to intervene in an invoice dispute between the Tshwane municipality and a service provider. This despite the fact that Ngosi had no official stake in the company, nor was he employed by the Metro. The incident is part of a long list of questions Ngosi has been asked about in relation to his relationship with some senior officials at the capital. More on this in the next hour. Police have flagged a few discrepancies while conducting a firearm compliance inspection at one of security boss Calvin Matibedi's business premises in KwaZulu-Natal. They are querying the number of firearms found on the property against what they are licensed to have. The inspection comes after Matibedi lost a court challenge yesterday to halt the inspection. KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi recently took Matibedi to court over defamation. Matibedi has accused the provincial commissioner of using the police to